So I kid you not, there was actually a scene in this movie when Tom Holland jumps into a lake, finds an alligator, and just punches the hell out of it like Happy Gilmore. Which, look, I was fine with, but like, Hollywood, is this really a thing you can do? I mean... You know, I love the opening scene where there's like a high priest that can read Tom Holland's thoughts, and he looks at Tom Holland and he's like, "You're weak." And you just hear it, weak, weak, weak. It kind of reminds me of like Rick and Morty with Jerry. He's like, loser. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Burns Reviews. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get early reviews just like this. And without any further ado, we are watching Chaos Walking. The not-too-distant future where Todd Hewitt, played by Tom Holland, discovers Viola, played by Daisy Ridley, a mysterious girl who crash lands on his planet, where all the women have disappeared and men are afflicted by the noise, a force that puts all their thoughts on display. In this dangerous landscape, Viola's life is threatened as Todd vows to protect her. He will have to discover his own inner power and unlock the planet's dark secrets. Alright, so you know what? I like to always go into positives. Let's start there. So, positives... It goes without saying that Tom Holland has this movie on his back. Not to say the movie's not good. The movie is fairly generic. It is formulaic. It's never painful to watch. It's a little bit too long. But Tom Holland is charismatic and charming enough that you don't really care about the, I guess, familiar plot points that you typically get with these kinds of movies. Also, this movie could have been The Maze Runner, could have been Divergent, but I really do feel that this movie is kind of like a new reboot of The Hunger Games, in that it has that, okay, the demographic is definitely for like high school kids and college kids, and it was watchable. I really enjoyed this movie. It wasn't groundbreaking in any way, but at no point did it like offend the senses to be like, ugh. I think that it would definitely probably be more of a matinee for me. I don't see myself paying full price for this kind of movie, let alone IMAX. There's really nothing in this movie, unfortunately, that has an IMAX-worthy scene. You have one scene where a spaceship comes in, and you have another scene where you have like a whitewater rafting scene, which I really liked, but it was too short, and it was over before you know it. A lot of this movie takes place in the woods, people chasing other people on horseback, but like, again, a lot of wide shots, not very cinematic. But all in all, I did enjoy this movie. You know, I thought Tom Holland was pretty charming. There's a lot of scenes where he obviously has a big crush on Daisy Ridley's character, Viola, and he's trying not to disclose that, but, you know, being the Spider-Man kind of charming little nerd that he is, of course he does, and of course she just gets really frustrated with him. She's banging on tables and she's walking away, and it's not really his fault, but it is what it is. I thought that was kind of an interesting take. I've never seen anything like that. That's like, hey, how about an idea where we can see what people are thinking? That's interesting, I guess. But everything else in this movie seems a little bit paint by numbers. Like, you got the bad guy, what's his name? Mads Mikkelsen or something like that. The guy who played Hannibal. He was also in Doctor Strange. He was the villain from Casino Royale. He's always menacing, and he's pretty, you know, he's decent in this. But, you know, fairly generic. He's just a guy who wants to run it all, and, you know. So, yeah, I think this movie is very accessible for a broad audience. I just think that it's a little bit more geared towards, like, high school kids. I mean, it was fine. Like I said, I think if you're 17... you might really dig on it. I just don't think it's going to be for everybody. You know, if they put this movie on Netflix and you told me there was like 3 more movies, I would totally watch all 3 of them. I'm like, where is this going? You know, it's a little like juvenile. It's a little bit younger audience, but if you're into that kind of movie and you want that kind of movie, yeah, very Hunger Games Chapter 1, if you will. And yeah, there's a pretty fun rafting scene, a chase going down a river with the bad guys chasing them, and everything's going kind of crazy. Doug Liman kind of brings that Bourne Identity scope to that scene, which I really enjoyed. I would definitely recommend it as more of a matinee, maybe. I can't really recommend it as a full theater price ticket. Definitely not an IMAX. This is a movie that I would definitely give a higher grade if I was streaming at home, but probably a slightly lesser grade if I was watching it in a movie theater. Because I feel like this movie could have very easily gone to Netflix. Now, going into negatives, like the noise bit floating around their heads. I mean, I would just wear like an astronaut helmet or like a fishbowl on my head. That got like a little tiring after about maybe an hour of it. You know, Tom Holland kind of has like the same kind of thoughts, like, I'm Todd, I'm Todd, I'm Todd, I'm Todd. And it gets a little bit old. Daisy Ridley's character, if you didn't like Rey Skywalker, you may also have a problem with this character. You know, there's a scene, for example, where Tom Holland is trying to make a fire, and he can't do it. He's trying to like break two rocks together, and he's trying to, you know, get like a lint and a flame, and, you know, she just walks over and she's got like a little space device in her bag, and she's like, poof, and the flame goes straight up. There's another scene later on in the movie when Tom Holland is rushing back to go save Ridley Scott. I'm sorry, not Ridley Scott, Daisy Ridley. And, you know, there's a bad guy in there, and like he's like a goon, he's a henchman, he's about to like kidnap her. And like by the time he gets in there, you know, the bad guy's already on the floor and he's like hogtied, he's tied up, and she's like, "What? Of course I did." And it's just like, you know, if you had issues with like Rise of Skywalker on how she could easily heal snakes and Kylo Ren and do like, she has whatever's the most convenient god power at that moment. Yeah, I can see that being an issue with certain people. It was a little bit of an issue for me, but it was fine. You know, she was okay. I mean, it's kind of odd seeing her being a little bit younger again, playing somebody who's even younger. And that's just that's just a circumstance of it. But, you know, this is definitely not a New Mutants kind of movie. I think it's a decent watch. Also, Tom Holland's character seems really obsessed with her yellow hair. And then you have a couple other plot points that are a little bit annoying. You like the character of Todd, played by Tom Holland. It's like, he's like, "I can't read my mother's journal. I never learned to read."
But you know what the worst part of all is? I never learned to read.
Right? And I'm like, alright, that's a little eye-rolly. And then, you know, the flip coin of that is like Daisy Ridley's like, "I can't swim."
Why, are you crazy? The fall will probably kill you.
So, you know, they kind of have like a yin and yang back and forth. It's like they kind of fill in the gaps of each other. It's fine. Again, we're in a kids movie more or less, or a YA teenage movie. It's fine. And you know what? To a certain extent, kids that are that age do talk this way, so I would be kind of annoyed if they talked like somebody that was in their 30s, because that's just not really realistic, you know? All in all, guys, I enjoyed Chaos Walking. The formula, the plot points, you've seen it a million times, especially in a first chapter of a movie based on a book series where they plan to make several ones. There is a bit in the very end where they're kind of like, okay, so we're done with this, but hey, there could be more if there's a sequel. Of course, they put that in there. I don't really know if they're going to make a sequel with the actors kind of ballooning up a little bit. All in all, it is an imperfect movie, but I enjoyed it. It's a little schlocky at times, but I can't say that it was something that made me roll my eyes and kind of cringe. It just was very generic, and it's very generic in its storytelling, but it's elevated by the charms of Tom Holland, who is a more than capable actor. I would like to see him basically in much better films. And then also, I kind of would check this out if they did 2 more movies. I probably wouldn't pay to go see it in the theaters, but I would probably rent it. I'd probably check it out on Netflix or some type of streaming site some night. Anyway, what do you think of Chaos Walking? Did you read the books? I didn't read the books. Did you read the books? Did you see the movie? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you think it's going to be awful? Do you think it's going to be great? Comment down below. We are doing a giveaway for Eddie Murphy's Coming to America. We have the digital copy for that, and we have a review for the new one. It's embargoed, but that's going to be out later on in the week, so be sure to subscribe. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I've been John, you've been Burned, and we will see you next time.